Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about my all-time favorite YA reads. You might notice that most of these are YA contemporary and YA romance. That's my personal book of choice genre of choice, geez. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So one of the first books to ever really get me into reading and get me into writing is Do Not Die, My Love by Lurlene McDaniel. If you've been with me for a while, you know that this is hands down my favorite book, always has been. I think I read this in middle school. That's when I discovered Lurlene McDaniel and fell in love with her. And you can definitely tell, like, my copy has seen its day. There's stuff in here that's highlighted, underlined. Love this book. And she did a cover redo. So of course I have the cover redo too, and I have it on my Kindle. So Don't Die, My Love follows the story of Julie Ellis and Luke Moldenhauer, who are meant to be together, the cutest couple. Luke is the school's quarterback, Julie's dad is the coach. They always see each other, she goes to all of his games. They are perfect. Luke starts to get sick, but he refuses to go to the doctor. He's got too much on his plate. He doesn't have the money, it's just not a good time. Julie finally forces him to go when his virus doesn't seem to be going away, and the test results aren't good. Julie is determined to stick by Luke's side though. Love this book, cannot recommend it enough. So my next book is also from a very popular author known as Sarah Dessen, and I have two by Sarah Dessen that I absolutely love. The first one is Just Listen. This is one of her older books. She did a bunch of cover redos. I think this is the older cover. This follows the story of Annabelle Green, who is a model and seems to have the perfect life. However, things are not going her way. She ended a friendship with a girl named Sophie on a very bad terms. Her older sister's eating disorder is tearing her family apart, and she doesn't have anyone to turn to. She's isolated at home, ostracized at school. She's having a really rough time. So one day when eating lunch, she notices she's sitting next to Owen. He's known at school as being intense, broody, he's obsessed with music, and he has some anger management issues. This unlikely pair come together, and the result will have you swooning. Love Sarah Dessen, cannot talk about her enough. This book deals with some really important issues, I think, and I just love it. The next book by Sarah Dessen that I have is Along for the Ride. I picked up this book because I, on Wattpad, wrote a story called Along for the Ride, and people were like, did you get that from Sarah Dessen? And at the time, I didn't even know who Sarah Dessen was, and I was like, no. So I picked up the book to make sure that, like, ours are different. They're completely different, and I love Sarah Dessen's. So this follows the story of Auden. She takes the summer away from her very demanding mother to live with her father, his wife, and their new baby. She picks up a job at a boutique, gets involved in the gossip and the drama of the town, and ends up meeting Eli, a very intriguing loner. The two of them both suffer from insomnia, and together they take on the world by night. I definitely recommend that you give this a read. Sarah Dessen writes YA romance, and you won't be let down. So the next two books I have are part of a series that is still ongoing, so I only have the first two books, naturally, and that is The Heartbreakers and Paper Hearts by Novak. For those of you who know me, you know that I'm an Novak fangirl, and she's one of my good friends. And this is her newest series, The Heartbreakers. So far she has Heartbreakers and Paper Hearts, and Heartstrings will be coming out soon, but you can read it right now on Wattpad. But Heartbreakers follows the story of Oliver, who is the lead singer of the Heartbreakers. And it follows the story of Stella, a girl who will do anything for her sister, including waiting in line to get an autograph from a band she can't stand, the Heartbreakers. Oliver and Stella hit it off. Stella is invited on tour with the boys as their photographer, and things do not go the way you expect them to. And then as its companion novel comes Paper Hearts. This story follows another boy in the band named Alec. Felicity is the kind of girl that has her entire future planned out until one day she is thrown a right hook in life. Is that the right word? I'm gonna go with it. She's thrown a right hook and her life is spiraling out of control. So Felicity attends a ball, meets a masked, handsome stranger who happens to be Alec Williams of the Heartbreakers, and the two of them go on an unplanned road trip together. So the next book I have, you guys have probably heard of. Everyone's been talking about it. It's just been made into a movie, and that book is Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. So this book has come out as a movie. It's called Love, Simon. Definitely recommend reading the book before seeing it in theater. Always recommend that with any book. And this book follows the story of Simon Spear, who is not so openly gay, but has an online chat relationship with a kid called Blue. All he knows about Blue is that they both go to the same school, but neither one knows who the other one is. But someone finds Simon's emails that he's been trading back and forth with Blue and threatens to out him unless Simon does exactly what he says. This novel will keep you guessing the entire time. I kind of guessed who Blue was, but I had a bunch of, I'm sure this is it, and then it wasn't. And then I was like, oh gosh, I'm sure this is it, and then it wasn't. But you will find yourself doing the same thing. I love this book. The diversity in this book is exactly what we needed in today's market. Could not recommend it more. The next book I have is also a book and a companion novel or spinoff, and that is Juliana Stone with Boys Like You, and then Some Kind of Normal. So this story follows two different characters, Monroe Blackwell and Nate Everett. So Monroe Blackwell has had a huge family tragedy, and her parents have sent her to her grandma's house for the summer to kind of recuperate and start to get over her grief a little bit. And then there's Nate Everett, who's known as the playboy, who likes girls in short skirts, and he likes playing a bit of acoustic guitar, until an accident that has ruined his life for what seems like ever. Now Nate has a best friend who may never wake up, a month full of community service, and a lot of guilt to go with it. Nate and Monroe together have a chance at finally finding forgiveness, but it's not as easy as it seems. This book, I could not recommend it more, which I've said for every book, but if you know me, you know I love some good angst in a book. This is everything I could want. Nate and Monroe, they're adorable. I'm not gonna go into what Some Kind of Normal is about because it kind of spoils Boys Like You, but this is the spin-off to this book, so definitely read Boys Like You first, and then honestly, I prefer Some Kind of Normal more than I do Boys Like You, just because I thought it was a better write and a better read. But I love both these books. The next book I have is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. S.E. Hinton is how I'm hoping that you say it. If you haven't heard of this book, it's been around for a while. This is the Platinum edition, some special print that they did. When I first heard about this book, I couldn't help but laugh at the names. But I really don't remember why I picked it up. I think someone recommended it to me, but I fell in love with the characters. This story follows a young boy named Ponyboy who has two brothers, Dairy and Soda Pop. Pause for laughter. That's what I did. I was like, no way I can take this book seriously, but it ended up becoming one of my all-time favorites. So there are two rival gangs in town, the Socks and the Greasers. Ponyboy and his brothers are part of the Greasers. The Socks are a bunch of rich boys. And there's always tension between them, there's always fighting between them, but one night someone takes things a bit too far, and Ponyboy's life is turned upside down. The next book I have is kind of obvious. I think it's like everybody's favorite book series, and that is Harry Potter. I love the entire Harry Potter series. I actually plan on rereading it this year, but my favorite book in the series is The Goblet of Fire. I started reading this series when I was in elementary school, and this is the book that I ended up stopping on because it gave me nightmares. Now that I'm older, I actually read the series in middle school. I think I picked it back up in middle school. Yeah, and this ended up being my favorite book, but love the whole series. I have not read the latest book, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I've definitely heard mixed reviews on it, But after I reread the series this year, I will be reading that one. And the last book I have to talk about is different than any of the other ones I mentioned because it is a poetry collection. And that is The Princess Saves Herself in This One by Amanda Lovelace. Lovelace? She's Lady Book Mad on Twitter. I love her. She is one of my favorite authors, obviously. But there is a sequel to this book, The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one. However, I didn't like it as much as I loved this one, so I decided not to include it. So on the back here, it says, the story of a princess turned damsel turned queen. This poetry collection is, I don't know how to explain it other than I cried reading this. It touched every part of my heart, every part of my soul. I related to so many pages in this book, and it is the only poetry collection I have ever read that really, really touched me. Gabby Hanna's Adultolescence came pretty close, but this one is by far my all-time favorite. So that is it for my all-time favorite YA reads. If I mentioned a book that you love, be sure to comment, or if I didn't mention a book that is on your favorite list, also be sure to comment, and I'd love to check it out, maybe chat about it. Let me know if I'm missing out on any really good books that I need to check out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye! As soon as I start, something goes wrong. But, yeah. So, Monroe Blackwell, who is at her grandma's house, but why? Now, Nate has a best friend who never, I have not read the latest book, Harry Potty, oh my god.